Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, which is about deploying machine learning models on Azure. My name is Jasmine from Angel Hack. I'm very happy to be your host for today to help us have a smooth experience in the webinar. So we are very blessed to have two speakers from Microsoft. The first speaker is Sudhir, and the second speaker is Ian, who will share with us more about how to deploying machine learning models on Azure. And first of all, really congratulations to all of you guys to make it to the second round of the virtual competition. Congratulations. And we're really looking forward to see what you come up with in the second round. And we organize this hackathon, this webinar to help answer your questions and also to help you understand more about how to deploy machine learning model on Azure. If you have any questions that you would like our speaker to address, please go to our Teams channel and type the question in the help desk. And then our team will make sure to answer it live in our webinar today. So just to say it one more time, please type your question in the help desk channel so that we can make sure to go through your questions during this webinar. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker to share with us more about machine learning models on Azure. Please join me in welcoming Ian. The floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction, Jasmine. Yeah, I'm Ian, developer audience PMM, working in Korea, but I'm closely working with Sudhir, and today we want to explain how to deploy Azure Machine Learning models on Azure, especially for your activities on phase 2, because then when we observed lots of activities from phase 1, and then we thought that on phase 2, then many teams are considering how to actually deploy machine learning models on Azure, because the phase 1 actually emphasized on architecture stuff. So let me start. And if you have some questions, then please feel free to write on this help desk channel, which we are using this Teams channel. So please type your questions, and then me and Sudhir can answer the questions. Okay, on phase 1, then I previously mentioned that there are many different approaches to how to implement your AI on Azure. So then there can be many different approaches. So then it is really up to you what you would like to choose a specific models, for example, pre-defined or pre-trained models, or then you can also enhance your models using Visual Studio Code or Jupyter and so on. Even then, you can use any kind of open source deep learning frameworks using PyTorch, TensorFlow, Scikit-learn, or then you can leverage Azure Machine Learning Spaces or Databricks to integrate with data. Or then if you are very familiar with infrastructure stuff, and you can integrate. You can deploy with containers, or you can integrate with Kubernetes services for better architectures. So then this picture is also similar as what I showed on phase 1 webinar. So then it is a kind of end-to-end AI development cycle. So then you can actually then to consider real production stuff, and then you can consider lots of stuff from how to get lots of data from real world, and then how to upload such data into cloud very well, and then how to ingest your great raw data into some meaningful data for your training stuff, and then how to manage lots of data to store better on the top of cloud, and also then how to deal with data preparation, and also then how to convert to your actual training workflow, and then how to train better, and then how to manage better models. Because then when you train train more and more, and then you will find then your own insight whether then you want to tune with some hyperparameters or and so on. So then and then how to convert such insight into your great applications, or how to help real world as you are approaching to for this phase two. And then today, then we would like to emphasize on this Azure machine learning stuff. Uh, this Azure machine learning stuff. How to better prepare data and how to better train them. Actually, how to deploy your best models to web services. Because without deploying such data, such machine learning models to web services, and then you cannot integrate with any kind of your apps or then your insight. So it is very important to implement your architecture not only from those previous data gathering stuff, ingest stuff to store stuff, but also then integrate with your best machine learning algorithms or your models to how to deploy your models. So then for phase one, then we want mainly try to evaluate with your large of submissions based on overall architecture. But for phase two, and then we assume that your architecture is well designed. So the phase two, then we note that we would like to more emphasize that whether your model is really feasible or not. So please really consider that how with your great architecture, then how to deploy your machine learning models to a web services so that more people can test, or then for your best artifacts, and then so Grab or UNDP will make use of in future. And then I would like to introduce this part, Azure machine learning part, because then, as I said, then we would like to specify this, explain especially this part for Azure machine learning service. And then there are many parts, but then you can see mainly for this part. So Azure machine learning service is actually based on Workspace. So the Workspace are common ground for all artifacts. So then when you do some many experiment, and then the result will, can be seen on Workspaces. And currently, then Azure Machine Learning Service, Azure Machine Learning Workspace really works with Python. So then please refer this Azure ML SDK. And also then the another kind of great advantage is that it can support AutoML. AutoML is that when you train with lots of data, and then you can, without your manual stuff, and then you can get great insight using AutoML. So it is very great. And also that there are also some interfaces to integrate with Azure Machine Learning Studio, which is very easy. You can draw some flow chart for how to train your models, how to get data, how to train your model with some specific algorithm. So it is very great. And then all training activities are regarded as experiments. So then you can allow the Azure Machine Learning Workspace allow to multiple runs for the same script, and also it can support AutoML. So you can do lots of experiments using Azure Machine Learning Workspace, and also it supports some end-to-end life cycle management. So there are many. When I saw lots of previous implementations on machine learning beginners, and then they mainly focus on how to better enhance the models, for example, by tuning hyperparameters or seeing lots of layers and how to add or how to modify filters. That is good. And I want to additionally emphasize that these models need to be exposed to end APIs, endpoints, so that any other people can train better. So please consider that how to manage such life cycles, and also it can support data-driven monitoring, although it is still on preview as far as I know. So I would like to divide into two perspectives. One is architecture and flow perspective. So then on page one, then lots of people designed by with their good architecture by themselves. So then it is still good. So it is a kind of reference architectures. So this reference architecture includes how developers can start, and also how data scientists can start, or then some how citizen data scientist. Citizen data scientist means that some data scientists who are not very familiar with development stuff. So they can also provide provide some insights on how to sampling data. All three perspectives can be integrated with one great Azure Machine Learning workspace. And this architecture, reference architecture, is based on Azure Machine Learning workspace. And also then based on this reference architectures, and you can draw end-to-end how to prepare your data, then how to manage your experiment, and how to deploy. That is great, but when you observe lots of phase one architectures, your architectures, and then not all follow this. So that I would like to emphasize that Azure Machine Learning service is one of architectures where how Azure embraces. So then if you try to use different approaches, that is also nice. So then if you want to find which architectures are really good, and then please browse this Azure Architecture Center. It shows all architectures related with also AI and Azure Machine Learning. So please look out, and then some architectures are just based on fully open sources, and the other architectures are how to integrate with IoT, or then how to approach with some specific domain, or and so on, or the how to integrate with Spark, or and so on. So there are lots of reference architectures, and please consider these architectures, and then how to think about your solution flows, then finally approach how to deploy your models to expose as a API endpoint. And also then for developers tools perspective, and then there are also many different tools, but I would like to highlight related with Azure Machine Learning Workspace is the first thing is Azure Notebooks. Azure Notebooks service itself is currently available as preview for all users. It is for free. So then you can go to just notebooks.azure.com, and then someone can also use Jupyter on their laptop. It is still good, but the great advantage of using Azure Notebooks is that many people can share their Jupyter notebook files without exposing your endpoint on your local machine. So it is based on fully on cloud, and it is fully based on Jupyter open source, so that everyone can use for free and also can be shared. But it is also integrated with Azure Machine Learning Service. So then everyone can also start to use notebooks on Azure Machine Learning. So those are some detailed explanations on how to configure JSON file to make better compatible on VS Code, and also then how to clone from your Git repositories, and then how to clone and upload, and then how this example code shows then how to integrate some base logging APIs supported on Azure Notebooks, so then you can write some log messages, and also then those logging APIs will are integrated with some separated UIs, so that you can check some using different UIs supported on Azure Machine Learning Service, or then even then you can also separately log messages, so then you can check separately log messages and also integrate with some actual images, how to check with your progress or and so on. And also then one great thing using Azure Notebook is that for deployment, it is natively supported on Azure Machine Learning Service, but however, still then you can implement by writing your code to Azure Notebooks, then how to deploy web services. This example shows then how to register your models into a web services, and also then this example shows then how to integrate such web services with Azure containers instance if you are considering on with some containers. And also then for developer tools perspective, then I also would like to highlight that you can also use VS Code. VS Code is very cool. Currently, VS Code is #1 tool for developers world, as shown on last Stack Overflow surveys. And to use better on with VS Code, and you can additionally find at least some Python environment. It is available as plugin, so you can find extension on VS Code to find Python first, and then you can install on Python extension on VS Code, and also you can install additionally on Visual Studio Code for AI extension. So then you can use then more easily with VS Code to work with Azure Machine Learning Service. This is a picture shown on VS Code after you install the relative extensions. So you can see some experiments and then lots of things, and then you can use actually you can right click and click some menus, and also you can check results on Azure portal. Yeah, like this learning Azure Machine Learning Service, and then also then you can also select some target compute. This compute is prepared on Azure Machine Learning Service, and then you can check after event ML experiment is submitted, and then you can check experiment run on Azure. And also you can check some research on Azure Machine Learning Service Workspace like this way. So, and also those are some sample codes. So then you can check some these sample codes, and then these sample codes can be developed into your own local environment. And also just one additional note that Microsoft is now expanding a lot to better experience VS Code to all over the world. So then even for remote developers. So that's why on last build, Microsoft announced CodeSpace. CodeSpace is currently based on two things. One is based on GitHub. So then it is currently supported as private preview, GitHub CodeSpace, and also then there are Visual Studio CodeSpace, and which is available on Azure. And then you can experience some seamless. You can see some seamless experience on Visual Studio Code from your local environment and also on cloud environment. So based on two perspectives, on flow and architecture perspective and developer perspective, then I mainly explained how Azure Machine Learning workspace and service can be useful for your phase 2 deployment to expose your artifacts to some endpoint. And then from now, then Sudhir will demonstrate and how such things can be implemented.
Cool. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Hey, first of all, to all the attendees, congratulations for moving on to the phase 2. Now, in the demo, I'm going to just walk you through some of the steps which is required for you to deploy your machine learning model. And I'll probably gonna let you know various ways, but at the end of the day, it'll be super cool and easy for you to leverage the Azure Machine Learning Workspace. Now, let's go and look into what all capabilities are there in the platform and how we can leverage it. So I'm going to share my screen and screen 1. And I would appreciate if someone can unmute and just let me know if you are able to view my screen.
Yep, we can, Sudhir.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Thank you. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm probably going to create a machine learning workspace. So I'll probably going to go and say I'm going to create a new resource, and I'm going to say Azure Machine Learning. And then I'll just go ahead and click on create, right? I'm going to provide my subscription, the resource group, which I'm going to create. And then I'm going to provide the workspace name, the region where I want to deploy this workspace. And you can think the workspace as the container for the artifacts that we're going to develop and deploy from the machine learning workspace. And then you can put up your workspace edition, basic or enterprise, depending on what you're trying to do. Because obviously there are some limitations in basic as compared to the enterprise. Now, once you create this, I'm not going to do that. I'll just go back. I've already created one. This is how it's going to come up on your screen once you're done with it, right? And then you can click on launch now, which is your Azure Machine Learning Studio, right? Now, if you remember this UI from the previous presentation in the phase 1, I think we talked about briefly on the Azure Machine Learning Studio now, which basically gives you a option to build your machine learning model using the designer, which is something like this. You can upload your data sets and then you can drag and drop all the tasks either you're going to do for the data transformation, selecting a model, scoring a model, and or maybe evaluating a model. Now, once you're done with that, you can actually go ahead and, by clicking submit or deploy, it basically going to add automatically the web service input or output. You can see over here. I've already deployed this, so you can see it has the web service input, endpoint, and the output. So that means whenever you're going to call the API, it's basically going to come through the web service input, and it's going to go to the entire transformation, and then finally it gives you the response back, right? And which you can show. Now, the other thing is that you have is the automated machine learning, which is helpful in case if you're not sure about it, which model you're going to use or which hyperparameters you're going to tune to basically get the better accuracy for your model. You can actually go ahead and use the automated ML, and then let me just show over here. Now what's going to happen is once you run the automated machine learning, it basically going to run your data on the various algorithms, and then it basically gives you explanations and the accuracy and so on and so forth, right? So you can actually decide which one you want to basically go for, right? Now think about it. If you have to do manually, each of these run probably going to take some amount of time, and you might end up spending a lot of days or maybe a lot of weeks, to basically come out with a proper machine learning model. Now this makes life easier with the automated ML because it basically takes various algorithm with different hyperparameters, and then it runs it parallelly and gives you all this information. Now, along with that, it gives you the log information. And if I select one of the, let's say, run over here, I can actually go into the model and then go into the metrics. And I can, from here on the left hand side, I can select what all metrics I want to see for my model. And on the right hand side, it basically creates a graph for you to visualize the outcome. And then you're going to have your logs and everything. And if it has any child runs, it basically going to show you over here, right? Now, why I'm showing you this, because it has the one experience for data scientists and the data developers to see everything within the framework, right? Now, if you said, okay, that's fine, but I'm still interested to write my own Python code in the notebook, you can have a notebook experience as well within the machine learning workspace, right? So irrespective of what tool you use, you can actually get a seamless experience over here. So as you can see here, I can have my notebook over here, right? And what I can do is when I'm going to train this model, I can actually go ahead and attach a compute to it, right? Where I'm going to run this code. And I can either run in the Jupyter, or I can say, just go ahead and add it into the Jupyter lab. And if I log in, I should be able to see all my artifacts within the Jupyter lab and should be able to edit the way I want. So the one of the reason I'm exploring all these options for you is because I'm not sure about it, which tool that you guys are using to build your model. Now, even if you're using our platform to build your model, you can actually go ahead and run your model in the machine learning workspace as well. You can train it, you can deploy from here itself. I mean, that's the easiest way, for you to deploy your model. Now, while it's coming up, let's go back over here and look at over here. So if I go ahead and run this code, I can run it over here, right? And then I can actually go ahead and, create my model, define my data sets, right? I don't need to walk you through because you already know. And then I can actually go ahead and register my model easily from the code itself, right? So we have this Azure ML SDK available, which you can install by using the pip command. And then you can actually go ahead and leverage these classes to basically call these functions for the registering the model or deploying the model, right? Okay, let me just go back onto my automated ML over here. And I have various runs that I've did it, right? Now, the another scenario probably you're using is probably you're leveraging Azure Databricks, to build your model like I'm doing over here. So I'm just getting some test data, collecting the data over here, and then doing some data transformation in my Databricks notebook, right? Look into the data, everything looks good, and then I can actually go ahead and run my model. So probably somewhere over here, I can actually go ahead and define this. And once I define the AutoML configuration, then I can actually go ahead and run that, right? Now here you can see, even from here, by importing those libraries, I can actually go ahead and initiate multiple runs for my data set and along with the various algorithms. And then I can actually go ahead and see all the responses here itself in my notebook, right? Now, once I'm done with that, I can actually go ahead and get my best model, and then I can actually use this SDK to deploy this model into my machine learning workspace as well, right? Here, and let me just look into one of the existing models. So either you can look the deployment options from here, or maybe on the left hand side, you can see there are various artifacts, right? So you will have all your data sets available over here, which you use to build your model, the experiments that you have created, either using automated ML or maybe through the designer, you will find it over here. And yeah, and then if you go to the models, you can see these are my models that I've deployed, right? Now, what I can do is I can actually go ahead and once I deploy this model, I can go into the model and I can say, let's go ahead and deploy this model, right? And I can provide the information. For example, this is going to be my test model, and I can define online AI hack, right? And then it's basically going to ask me the compute type, whether I'm going to deploy to my Azure Kubernetes services or Azure container instance, right? Probably for us in the phase 2, you probably can go for ACI or maybe AKF. It doesn't matter, but the only thing is what matter is, because we are not looking for the highly scalable environment. It's just going to be few calls that we're going to make. We can stick with the ACI, but then if you want to see how the AKS work, you can actually go ahead and choose that. Select your compute name, right? Because when you're going to define your Azure Kubernetes cluster, it's need the nodes underneath, right, to deploy your cluster. So that's where you can either select the existing compute, or you can go and create the compute. On the left-hand side, under the manage, you can see the compute. You can create a new compute where you can decide the machine, the VM's configuration. And once you create, it basically going to come up over here and you can select that, right? If you want to enable the authentication, you can actually go ahead and do that. Either it's going to be token based or key based, or if you want to disable, you can disable it, right? And then you can just simply say, I want to deploy this model, right? So that's the one of the way you can actually go ahead and deploy your model over here, right? Now, once you deploy your model, ultimately it's not going to create any endpoints for you, right? Because you just deployed your model, right? And then what you need going to do is, let me just go back over here and say I'm going to register a model, and I'm going to say online hack demo model deploy. So now I need to actually go in for registering the model. I need to basically define the model framework, right? Now, if you created your model by using automated ML, you can choose the first option. But other than that, if you're using any other libraries or any other frameworks to build your machine learning models, you can actually go ahead and select that particular framework, right? So let's say I'll say automated ML. I'll just give this a version 1, which I use. And then I can actually go ahead and upload my model file. So if I click on that, I have this model.pickle file, which I'm going to choose and say open it and register it. So what we did is we just registered our model by providing the model.pickle file. And once it's done with that, then probably we'll move on to the next step and gonna deploy and create an endpoint out of it. It's probably going to take some time, as you can see, and I don't have a very good internet because I'm working from home and having connected via my mobile. Maybe these are the challenges we are facing while we are working from home nowadays. Okay, while it's doing it, let's not wait. Let me just say leave it and click on the test upload. Right, and if you look into the artifacts, it basically shows me the pickle file that I've already uploaded to save some time. You can see this is my pickle file, and then let's go into the endpoint and say these are the existing endpoints that I've already created with this. And if I want to look into the data sets, I can see it over here. But at this point of time, I just deploy or register the model, so nothing is there. So now let's click on the deploy. So once you register, the second step is you're going to deploy this model, and I'm going to say this is my test environment. This is going to be my ACI, and I'm not going to enable the authentication, but if you want, you can actually go ahead and do that as well. As soon as you enable the authentication, that means somebody's going to call your endpoint. They're probably going to need these keys to be, available in the header, so that your compute environment can authenticate and process the incoming request. Now let's go ahead and disable for the test, and now it's going to ask me the script file, which is my scoring file over here, and then any dependency which is required. So I'm going to say yes, my model require these conda environment, and then I'm going to add my another environment dependencies file. Now, if I go into the advanced, here I can actually either enable the logging. So just in case we want to troubleshoot if something not working, I can enable the application inside diagnostic for the data collection. And then you can actually go ahead and define how many concurrent requests per container you want. So let's say I'll say 2, for example, and how much CPU and the memory you need. So 2 CPUs with 8 GB of RAM, probably good for me. And I can just say deploy. Right. Once it's going to do, let me see if any of the existing endpoints is up and running or not. Okay, so it might take some time because I'm running too much load on my subscription. There are a lot of cluster that I spin up, so hence it might take some time. But let's say I have my model now. And once I deploy that model, I'm going to sick. I can actually go ahead and then once I deploy that, I'll go into the endpoint. And then let's say this is my, let me see if I have any one which is up and running now. This should be up and running, I believe. Right, so this is this endpoint is up and running, and as you can see, this is service status. This is my deployment state is healthy. The compute type is Azure Kubernetes cluster, and you can see this is my REST endpoint, which I'm gonna make a call, and it has key-based authentication. So that means if somebody's going to make a call to my endpoint, they need these keys to be called. This is my Swagger file. I can just go ahead and open in another window. And as you can see, this is the Swagger file, which is pointed. And then these are the configuration that I've set up for my cluster. And then how many replicas that I've defined. Everything I'll get over here. And I have my application inside the URL as well, just in case if you want to see and do some troubleshooting, right? Now, then you can go into the test. And here it basically gives you, while you're deployed, before you give it to anyone, you can actually go ahead and use this interface to basically test whether it's working or not. For example, I'll just go ahead and change some of the numbers, sampling 7, normalized loss is 2, make, fuel type, everything is good, city mileage is 15, and then highway, let's just maybe 20, 15, I'll again say. And then I'll just go ahead and horsepower is 0, compression ratio is 6. And then I click on test. It's going to send it to my endpoint, and you can see this is the output, and I'm basically looking into the value, right? This code label. What is the value of this car if I provide these features, right? So it basically predicts me the car value. So this is my car value that is predicted by my machine learning model. So for now, let's say if I look into the raw, this is a JSON format that you get it, right? And then once I feel that this is pretty good, I can actually go ahead and consume it. And what in the consume section it provides you the endpoint, the keys as well, which you're probably going to give it to the application users. If you want to regenerate, you can regenerate as well. Now, other than that, on the right-hand side, we basically provide you various consumption options. So if you're not good in writing in a Python code or a R code or C# code to call this API, we basically gives you this sample code, which you can actually use it as it is and run your application. You have it for the Python and you have it for your R as well. Okay, so you don't have to write a code, just copy and paste and you're up and running. Okay, now once you're going to give us this endpoint, we're probably going to use it maybe let's say with the Postman. So if I go to the Postman and copy this endpoint, which I've already copied. And I can provide my content type, my authorization keys over here. And if I click on send, right, as you can see, my request is reaching. I'm getting authenticated, and because I'm not sending any input data, I'm getting error back from my machine learning model, which is expected because I'm not sending. But if you're sending the data as well, it basically gives you the results back, right? So that's how easy it is, to deploy your model. So either you can use our SDKs to deploy your models, or you can actually go ahead and leverage the UI like I did to deploy the model and make it available as an endpoint, right? The other thing is, if you're comfortable working with the Visual Studio Code, you probably gonna need the Machine Learning Studio extension for Visual Studio Code, which my colleague Ian already talked about. So here I've already have my machine learning services connected, and as you can see, I have my all the experiments available over here. Now, if I want to download, let's say, any of these models, I can actually go and do that. Download the logs, download the outputs, and I can then actually go into these are my models. So I can actually go and deploy the service from the registered model. So these are the model registered. I can just go ahead and deploy this. And then it's basically going to ask you where you want to deploy. So I'll select Azure Container Instance. That's going to be my service name. And I can select the script which I want to run. And then it will be available. So all my endpoints will be available over here. As you can see, these are my endpoints which are available, which I can leverage, right? So it doesn't matter, to be very honest, on which framework that you're working. You can easily deploy your machine learning models into the workspace in Azure, right? And I hope you get the understanding of the benefits of having everything is collated into the workspace, because it's going to make easy for you to, if something goes wrong, you have all the logs, all the audits, all the reports available for you to quickly look into that, rather than, doing through going through the, various code or, various container instance and so on and so forth, right? So that's the another way that you can leverage to do that. And if in any case you said, okay, I'm gonna develop my models in my own environment, and then I'm gonna deploy into the Azure Container Instance. A little bit of work, you're gonna do it yourself. I'm not saying it's not possible, it is possible, but then you're gonna do some of the works yourself. And then it's not going to be as easy as you're going to deploy and make your endpoint available through the Azure Machine Learning workspaces, right? We have AKS clusters, we have Azure Container Instance, which you can leverage if you don't want to use this. But I would highly recommend to look into this because it provides you much more easier, so that you can more focus on your problem solving skill rather than focusing on the platform. All right, I think that's a quick demo that I want to show you. And I want to keep it short and crisp because it just focus on how we're going to deploy and what are the options available on the Azure, which you can leverage to deploy your models. Now, with that, let me just go back, and I think we can now take questions.
Hello, thank you so much, Ian and Sudhir, for sharing your insights with us. So now we have about 18 attendees joining us in this webinar. If you have any questions, please share with us on the Teams channel in the help desk channel. We already saw one question there, and our speaker Ian already replied. So if you have more questions, we're looking forward to hear from you. All right, in the meantime, as we are waiting for the attendees to type in the questions, Ian and Sudhir, would you be able to share some thoughts or feedback about the round one submission we got? What do you think about the submission we got for round one?
I think, to be very honest, I have seen a lot of potential in you guys, the way you thought about the problem, the way you guys actually look into the, various dimensions to solve the problems, nitty-gritty of the problems, and, how best you can leverage the Azure services, to utilize as a platform to solve that business problem. I'm pretty impressed the effort that you guys put in, and that means you guys actually raised the bar for us to expect more from you in the phase 2. So I'm really looking forward what innovations that you're gonna bring on the table, and I'm very excited to see that.
Great, thank you.
Ian, you want to add anything? Ian, you want to add anything?
I'm also same opinion as you mentioned. Additionally, then what I want to share is that since we don't have enough time, then please do not focus all aspects. It is now a great time for you to wrap up some results or focus on what you really want to emphasize to us. So please do not implement all detailed stuff from end to end. Instead of them, I would like to see that if your architecture seems feasible, that is good. But please emphasize what you are, your result is strong. That is what I want to emphasize.
Great, wonderful. So we received the first question from attendee, which is how do we create models in Azure? How do we create models?
Yeah, so how do we create models in Azure? That depends on which framework that you're using to build. I mean, are you using notebooks, or you're using designers, or you're using automated ML feature? So in the Azure, you have all these three options available. So that means either you can use the UI to build your models, or maybe you can code for that, right? For the coding example, you have seen I have used the notebook within the machine learning workspace, which I use to build my model, and as well as the Azure Databricks environment, which is both kind of a notebook experience, and then you have the Azure notebooks as well. If you're more familiar with coding, you can build the models through that interface. However, if you're not, and if you're somewhat expertise, you probably can leverage automated ML, which is UI based, or you can use the Machine Learning Studio Designer to build your models on Azure. The next question we have, how can we automate uploading image and train it in a given interval? So this is, I don't know from where you're gonna upload your images, but I'm assuming that, once you have the images available on the Azure, you want to train your model, right? So now what you're gonna do is, you're probably gonna have the Azure function, let's say, which is probably going to be a serverless architecture. And I'm just giving you a hint, okay? I'm not going to give the full solution. And this is one of the ways, which is basically going to listen on to your storage where you're going to dump your images, right? Now, as soon as any images come onto the storage, your serverless function will come up, pick up that particular image and pass it and train the model.
To add to this answer, then that is good approach. Usually, it is a good approach to design as a kind of event-driven model when there is some uploading images, and then right after, then Azure serverless can be executed, Azure functions can be executed. The other approach can be then you can implement something with Azure Batch. With some given interval, then you can execute every time. And then if there are some additional images, then you can train. Or if there is no images uploaded, then the job cannot be executed. So yeah, there are two different approaches usually.
Wonderful, thank you so much. We have more questions coming in. Another question is that,
I'll read out for you. Can we add own data in API? I mean, data processing together with some other additional data. Any example on that? I didn't get your entire question, what exactly you're looking for, but then technically it is feasible. you can send your own data, and you can do processing before you land your data anywhere in the Azure surface. So that's you can do. The next question that we have is, hey, I'm Louis. Hi, Louis. One of the participants for the phase 2 would like to know, is there any Slack channel, communication channel to communicate with the organizing team or mentors? I think Shubhangi or maybe Jasmine, you guys can answer this.
Yes, we do have a Teams channel to answer your questions and also to communicate. So if you can leave your email here, we can add you to the Teams channel. Thank you, Louis.
And the next question is, can we have a copy of the slides also? I think we should be able to provide you the PDF format of the slide deck. Am I correct, Ian?
Yes, correct.
Cool. So you will get the copy of that. All right, let's see if you have any more questions from you guys. This is exciting phase. Okay, I don't think so any questions we have. So thank you so much for all of you. And we really looking forward for your solutions, and all the best. Good luck. Over to you, Jasmine.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to our speaker today. Thank you to Ian and Sudhir for sharing your knowledge with us. And thank you to our attendees who have stayed tuned with us from the beginning until now. So just a reminder that we still have phase 2 of the virtual hackathon is going on. The deadline will be on the 19th, and we're really looking forward to receiving your solution. Yes. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can send it to us and communicate with us by Teams. Yes, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying good luck to everyone. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Good luck, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day, everyone. Bye now.